In this video tutorial, we'll be looking at 5 recruiting reports and a dashboard to help your recruiting function. So let's get going. So here I have my menu structure, my HR reports, and I'm going to look at recruiting reports. Now, the first report we're going to have a look at is my open requisitions. This report is intended for a recruiter or a hiring manager to see all of their open requisitions and understand the candidates at various stages for candidacy against those requisitions. So here you have it. Here's job requisition. It shows the number of days open, the location, the hiring manager, and the recruiter. We prompted for the recruiter, of course. If the hiring manager would be there, you'd see everything for example, Boris. And then it'll show you the number of candidates in the different candidate stages, whether it's review, screen, assessment, interview, offer, or post-offer. My data is not very good. This is our play tenant. I'm just going to try to get some data points here just to show you. So for this requisition, we have one candidate in this stage, and if you click on that, it goes even further and shows you the date the candidate was added, the name, the candidate stage, and the source as well. So some data points around that candidate. Now, of course, the recruiter can go with right-click onto, or the hiring manager can go with right-click onto the candidate and then do any actions that they need to do. So that's the actionability of reporting within Workday. So yeah, how is this report built? Just to show you what this report is doing and how it's working. It's a composite report that has a job requisition as standard composite reporting. You know, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about composite reporting, there's a course in Workday Learning for you to do that. Here on my control field is job requisition. And a little different from usual composite reporting, I have a dynamic data row over here that's going to return to me all my open requisitions. And it has that prompt for that worker. Yeah. So let's have a look at the sub report that's bringing back now my open job requisitions. So it's running on all job requisitions, it's just returning a job requisition. But in the filter, I'm doing that trick to say job requisitions, all of them that are open. And then here I am prompting on whether it's a hiring manager, recruiter, or primary recruiter. So I have a single prompt on all of these rows. So I can run this report. A hiring manager can run this report. A recruiter or the primary recruiter can run this report. So here it's used in this here to return the job requisitions. And then what we do in the rest of the report is to bring data points of that job requisition. So here is a lookup field value. So I'm looking up on the job requisition and returning the days the job requisition is opened by, date request entered. So I'm putting back data points of the job requisition. So basically now I'm pulling back, so days open, then this is the location piece. So I look up on the job requisition and bringing back the location. Do the same for hiring manager and recruiter. Now here we start doing counts. So these are, now you can see these are data columns. And what I'm doing here is for that job requisition, I'm bringing back the candidates and then candidates in a particular stage, right? So this is review and screen. Now looking at the sub report, it is built on not my requisitions, but my job application. So essentially the candidates. It's got no row grouping by job requisition, and it has the candidate stage over here. So I can filter for various candidate stages. It gives me the count. And then when I click on the numbers, it gives me various data points. So yes, that allows me, well, if I had any over here, I would be able to, well, I mean, there was that piece, right? Yeah, so this is review screen. Yeah. So that we have that sub report. Yep. And that's about it for that report. Yeah. So the rest of the columns over here are exactly the same, just selecting different candidate stages. Right? So this one's assessment, etc. Right? Going across here. So yeah, I mean, I would say fairly powerful, but very simple report to build for to help your recruiters understand what job requisitions that they have open, what candidates they have where, just some data points around the job requisition. And this report can be rerun by the recruiter or by the hiring manager, which means both roles are looking at exactly the same data and they can communicate around the candidates that they are working on for each other. So, yep, there's your first report, my open job requisition. As I said, it's for the recruiter really and the hiring manager. The next report is going to address another role. It's going to address the role of the recruiting manager. And so what recruiting managers need to do is to manage the workload of the recruiters. They have an interest to see, what's the workload of my recruiters. And so here we have a report that shows by recruiter the recruiting workloads, the number of requisitions they're working, the number of openings that are in those requisitions, the average days that they're open, candidates in various stages, and then an average time to hire KPI. This, in addition, has been graphed, right? So that for the recruiter, it's at least for the hiring manager, it's easy to see visually where their workload is. And for example, you might say from Carmen, who's on leave, to Jacqueline, you could reassign some of these requisitions. Now, how is this report built? Let's have a look at the build of the report. And let's take all of the stuff away here. And do a right click and see new tab. That is also a composite report. The difference this time is the control field is the recruiter, right? So we're grouping data. Previously it was a job requisition, now it's the recruiter. And we're bringing various data points against the recruiter, right? The first one is the number of requisitions, right? So this recruiter workload, job requisitions, sub-report. And we'll see that, yeah, we have the primary recruiter here as the field. And then the number of openings available, so data points. The one that you saw, this current one we had a look at, this requisitions piece is purely the count, right? So it's the count against the job requisitions, and obviously has the filter, certain filters on that. All right, so is that, yeah. So we have, here's your requisitions, the openings, and average days open. Both of them are coming off this sub-report. So here the number of openings available, the number of openings filled is there. I'm not currently using them. So there's very useful data points on the job requisition as well, including its average time to fill. So this is the last column over here, the average time to hire is actually based on this average time calculation. So for all job requisitions, for positions on the job openings on job requisition that are filled, Workday does an average time calculation. And the average time calculation is controlled by customizing on edit tenant setup for recruiting. And so it's down here, your average time calculation 1 is the date the job requisition is completed to the latest offer / employment agreement complete date. Here are the various points which you can start your clock, and you can end your clock at these key dates, and you can do various calculations on the requisition. And then these average time calculation 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are available on the job requisition object for you to be used in your reporting, as I did over here. So that is those columns, requisitions and openings. Average days open is just an average calculation. It's also data point of the requisition. So that's it's an average of the days open. Getting to your other additional data points over here, then just to see the candidates. So here's number of candidates, review, screen assessment, and offer. This is very much the same as the My Open Requisitions report that you saw or you've just seen. It does a count. And I think we're even using the same sub report over here. So yeah, it's used by, yeah, it's absolutely by recruiter workload and recruiting by org. And yeah, by recruiter, because we need this for the control field, it is counting the number of candidates by stage. As I said, pretty much the same way as we done in the previous report. And then here, the ones in review and screen, assessment / offer. And then here, this average time to hire. So that is how to define this recruiter workload report. As I said, it's really intended for the recruiting manager to manage the workload and have a great overview as to what their recruiters are doing. Because it's a composite, you can bring other data points in here and more columns as you wish. Yes, this has been graphed, so the graph settings on the composite work pretty much like a matrix report. So on the output side here, I have my chart options, I have chart and table. I am showing openings, yeah, and in addition, on the secondary axis, this is very new in Workday now, I'm using the time to hire. And so that gives me my primary and my secondary axis. I obviously just don't have a lot of good data because you can see the different the values. This is dual axis, right? This one axis and here's the other axis. And that really does the average time to hire is against that axis. Right, done with that report. So second report that you can be using, the third report is again pretty much a report intended for, let's go to the recruiting reports, for the recruiting manager. After the recruiting manager has a discussion with their clients to tell them in the business, well, for your organization, this is my recruiting activity, right? And here's a report to support that discussion. So it shows you by organization structure now, at this time for global modern services, the number of open positions we're not recruiting for, right? So that's a good data point. Then the number of requisitions that are open and your organization, the number of openings, the average day, and then various data points around the candidates, and then obviously your average time to hire calculations. Yeah, and then obviously here via this hierarchy structure. So this is great report again to talk. If I was talking to GMS or if I was talking to Fin and administration, I'm the recruiting manager, I would be telling them, okay, I have 3 openings for you, 3 requisitions, there's 2 openings, here are the openings on these different requisitions. And or I could talk about candidates to human resources. Here are my different candidates that are in review screen stage. So how is this report defined? It's a composite, my favorite report type. It's used now, the control field supervisory organization. Previously it was recruiter, right? Now it's supervisory organization because we need this rendering, right? So we need to talk to managers of organization structures, right? And so my control field is supervisory organization. Show that supervisory organization. I'm using an outline structure. That outline structure renders via the tree. There's that tree view. And here with this row definition of a lookup data row, I'm using basically saying, let me use the organization hierarchy, supervisor organizations in the hierarchy of global modern services, and please render it via the outline structure. And essentially this setting it controls this column. Then I'm bringing my data in. So here, open positions not recruited for. So this is not a analytic we've dealt with yet in this video tutorial. You will see that it is based on positions. So it's position spacing and reporting. It's obviously grouping by supervisor organization. It's doing a count for all positions that do not have an open job requisition, right? So open job requisition is empty. So there's your first column that does this column. Then the next column definitions is requisitions. Now here we're getting to stuff again that we've dealt with before. Actually, sub-reports we've looked at before. So this is a sub-report on job requisitions. Bringing back, just doing a count of the number of requisitions. So it's that count over here. And the other points are the same, right? It's the openings we've done, the average day opens as well. These are all data points that we're getting off that sub-report. Right? Average days open. Then here is the candidate side. You've also seen the candidate side. We've dealt with this before. This is a sub-report that's based on the job applications, essentially the candidates, and by candidate stage doing various counts. And here is the average piece again, and now the average piece is again, the average piece is taken off the average time to calculation. Okay, so great report for you. I think you'll really like this. Your recruiting managers and managers organizations will enjoy discussing, and because it's a composite report, you can bring in data points from various things. Right now, if you wanted to bring in a column here that says the number of people that resigned or left the organization last week, last month, you know, to kind of give an idea of incoming workload, you can also bring that column in there. So that's why I like Composite so much. All right, now let's get on to report. What are we now? 3, 4. Now, this set of report is more like recruiting internal. It's the time to, right? All the time to calculation, right? So we have this one, use this report to get insights on the time to hire for your candidates. So when you execute this, it's showing you by job profile, the number of people that have been recruited, right? Filled, and the average time to offer, average time to offer, and average time to hire. With now the data is, this is horrible data, right? This tenant just doesn't have great data, and that's why I just take the data as bad data. But yeah, obviously it's going to look way better for you guys. Now, what's the other thing is, so it allows you to offer it by, see this by job profile, because it's essentially probably the driver of a time to. You can also replace this with job family if that's more accurate for you guys. And then here with facet search, you can see if it differs in different areas. As I said, this is something to analyze to get insights. You know, what is it in London? What is it in San Francisco? What is it in Oslo? Right, that type of thing. And in addition, with the view by, you can see, does it differ? Does the average time to offer or hire different by recruiters to see, you know, are my recruiters or my hiring managers, are they affecting it, right? So it kind of gives you an insight. If I'm hiring for an associate consultant, I need to look at, let's say this is the better statistics, average time to hire of 90 days. And then I could also look by recruiter or by manager to see, you know, for that combination, I could even put these as facets over here, and then to know in my assessment of how long it's going to take me to hire that position, I have some sort of data point, right? This is about insights. You know? Now, let's have a look at how this is defined. This report now is a matrix report, my second favorite report type. So it's grouped by job profile, right? So we have that, this is the job profile piece. And now we have our counts, right? So this is flat out the number of fills. Then here we start getting on our time to calculation, right? So on our time. So now this, the first one is requisition create date to offer date. So time to offer, right? So it's not using, because these calculations are now on the job application of the candidates. We don't have to, we're not limited, let's say, by, or we can use more than just the Workday delivered timestamps for time to calculations. And so here, yes, it's a date difference calculated field on job application. It is the requisition completed date on the job application. And so this is looking up from the job application to the job requisition and doing the requisition completed date. So there's your start of your clock. We're ending the clock here at the offer date, essentially when the candidate goes into the stage of offer. To figure that out, we look up on the job application, or look up our recruiting statuses for that candidate, and we return the status that the recruiting status where it is an offer, right? So from job application, we're looking at all the recruiting statuses the candidate went through, and then picking up the one where they went into offer, right? Where the stage was offer. And then based on that, we are looking up the status start date. Right? So that's when they went into that. And then we can do our calculation over here. So one thing, the benefit over here is we're using the Workday standard delivered statuses, right? So all the stages of the candidate. And you know, maybe sometimes it's not 100% what you're looking for, but I always counsel for analytic maturity in the sense is that you need to understand what you're trying to do is not math, or not necessarily math, but you're not doing accounting. There's no auditor looking over your shoulder. What you're trying to do is calculate an analytic consistently on your organization that'll give you your business insight for you to make your decisions. And what you're trying to do, understand over here with all of this is, how long does it take me to hire it, right? And are some managers slower or faster, or some recruiters slower or faster? There's your insights that you're after. And you're getting these insights based, you can absolutely get them off the standard, let's say, stages that Workday delivers, right? As opposed to saying, well, whether this is 203 or 201 or 202, doesn't really matter, right? The insight is the insight that you're trying, as long as it's consistent throughout your organization. So absolutely recommending you highly to use the, let's say, the stages that Workday delivers in standard, and then you can do, as you saw over here, pretty quick calculations for time to, right? And so we had the one time to stage, so let me find out where I am again. This is recruiting, this is the workload, right? So this was the recruit date. This is the calculation. And so, right, so here's the one to offer a date. So, and then the other one is average time to hire, right? And so this calculated field uses again the requisition completed date, and then this just flat out uses the hire date that's on the job application. Okay. And doing an average calculations, and then we end up with this report. Again, this report is for the recruiting manager to essentially just get insights around how long does it take them to fill job profiles by location, by region, by country, to get business insights for them then to maybe start pushing for hiring for certain positions earlier, right? Stuff like that. So report number 4, right? Report number 5 kind of complements this one and does trending for it, right? So if I have a time to hire now of a certain amount days, 19 days, is it getting, and what's the trends? Because the trends will tell me a lot of what's happening in my organization. And so we have another report here. Time to start trend. So users report to see open requisitions. Not this one. This is the trend. So essentially, get the data points right. This is obviously not very good data that I have. But essentially what it's showing you is showing you a trend for number of fills, average time to fill. And then again, you can see it by managers, by recruiters, and yeah. And you're seeing two data points, the number of positions filled and the average time to fill. So again, it's giving me here whatever I'm seeing over here. So let's just say these are real numbers. Got better, and then well, went worse and got better, right? So depending on what you know about your organization, this trend would say something to you, right? So you can say, okay, well, I really need to start working on this, right? So is the trend different by recruiter, right? So you can pick out your recruiter. This is now for James, and this is James's time to hire, or if I want to look at Carmen, is it any better, right? Yeah. So again, a great slice and dice kind of analytic report for a hiring manager to see their time to use. Yeah. So yes, let's have a look at how this report is defined. It is a matrix report, pretty much using the same KPIs that we had calculated in the prior report. The only difference is, so here you have the KPIs, right? So you have an average time to fill calculation over here. What's different is I'm using here I'm training the data by a year a month, yeah, which is essentially taking the hire date and doing a lookup day rollout calculated field into year a month. And so for every completed, for every candidate that's completed the process based on the hire date, you will have their analytic placed into the different months on this timeline. So, right, and the facets, you guys know the facets. Those facets are in the advanced tab. So here are the different facets that we have. Now, in all of this, you guys have been maybe asking, well, where are my dashboards? Yeah, and so yeah, my opinion always is, and if you want to help your business create a report, if you want to help yourself, well, essentially say how smart you are, create a dashboard. And we do need to do that, right? And so what I've done is created a dashboard for recruiting managers. And so the recruiting manager dashboard, and I'm just using those reports that I have shown you before, right? So here's your workload report. Here's your time to hire report. And here's the average time to start train report. Scrolling down, and what I've done over here is just to add the recruiting reports over here, so that if the person now wants to have a look at all those recruiting reports that we've gone through, they can use this link that jumps you over to the recruiting reports. And if they want to view more on any of these, it'll execute the report and show the facets, right? So there you have your kind of completed picture for all of your a set of reports that help your recruiter, your recruiting manager, right? So the person managing recruiting function, and your hiring manager and their organization, right? So I think with these set of reports, you'll be pretty well served to help your organization manage the recruiting function. And yes, just to get back to the dashboard, I realized I did not show you how that's defined. So under maintain dashboards, I define my dashboard, right? So recruiting manager, and then I've created the tab, the overview tab. In the worklets, I have brought in all the different worklets, right? So each of these worklets which were previously just reports, recruiter workload, which is a report and it's a worklet. In the output areas, I made it a worklet and deployed it. Worklet options, selected a worklet and deployed it to that dashboard. And then obviously brought it in the dashboard. Please note, I put them all 2x's here. I like that setting because this 2x setting, I put the 2x's there, and then in the menu, I put in recruiter reports and brought in that recruiting reports report here that lists all the recruiting reports. Essentially, that is this report over here. It's the same one as when I go through here, HR reports, recruiting reports. This is that report that I put into the dashboard. That's over here. Now, what I like with this setting is that you kind of get this view, right? So it stacks all the workloads below one another. I think that's a better way to look at things. And it puts this thing over here very much top, front, and center for you to go and look at your recruiting reports. Head it over there. And this is going to head over now to all the other reporting you can do. Now, all of this is great and well. I think the most successful, you're most successful in your organization creating these reports if you truly understand the role that you're creating them for and what they're intending to do, right? And so I just find that the traditional way of gathering reporting requirements, of asking, hey, what report do I need to create, is just the wrong way around to do it, right? And I find something like this is a lot better, right? So more like a survey, right? So here's a survey. I've just used Google Forms for that, and to ask them, what's your role, right? So I'm a recruiting manager. What do I need to do, right? I'm either starting a process, I'm managing a process, or a resource. Those are the three things that there's really no other need for me to have a report. And over here, I'm trying to manage a process, right? What do you need to know to do the above, right? So this is, I'm managing a process, right? And to say, I need to know the trend in time to hire for the candidates my recruiters hire, right? So, I mean, that gives you that's the insight, right? So a couple of things, you know, the role is the recruiting manager, and they need to know the trend in time to hire, right? For now, the detail behind the time to hire, you can always, while you're developing a report, that's when you get into the discussion of them, but at least you know the starting point. It's time to hire for my organization, right? And then it's kind of what they want to do with it, right? So follow up with the recruiters, right? Or hiring managers, right? And that kind of lets me know, right? Okay, I need a drill down by a recruiter, and I need a drill down by hiring manager, right? And also there's an action behind there. If there is no action over here, there's really no need for you to do this report, right? And so I really find that if you can get these data points, that you know, who is it for, what are they trying to do with a series of questions like it, you're in a way better position, right, to come up with a report that actually helps the business, as opposed to developing reports that you know that in other traditional ways, you know, of doing this. Yeah. So just bonus feature on collecting reporting requirements. All right, so I hope this video tutorial helped you guys. Yeah.